Renee, you got your camera ready for?
Sign off. Good evening. Welcome everyone to Graham City Council, December 12th, 2023 council meeting. We appreciate you being here. If we could get Joey Parsons to do our invocation, please bow your heads.
And dear Lord, just thank you for bringing us all here tonight, and just be with us and guide us and direct us, and give us wisdom to do your business here with the city. We don't take that lightly at all. We know that a lot depends on what we do, and just be with everybody, keep them safe, and let them have a Merry Christmas. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We still do the Pledge of Allegiance here in the city of Graham. If you'll please stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we will direct your attention, for those of you, do we have the agenda out back, at the back? For anybody that wants to follow along on the agenda, so will now be the certification of our election, and we'll recognize our city clerk, Renee Ward.
At this time, I will confirm the certification of the election held on November 7th, 2023, as certified by the Alamance County Board of Elections. Votes for mayor, Jennifer Talley, 785. Let it be confirmed that Jennifer Talley is the duly elected mayor for a 2-year term expiring December 2025. Congratulations. At this time, I'll ask if Mayor Talley will come down front to receive her oath of office that will be given by our very own Alamance County Clerk of Court, Meredith Edwards.
Place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. State your name.
Jennifer Talley.
Do you, Jennifer Talley, solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as mayor, so help you God. Congratulations.
Okay, votes for council members, Ricky Hall, 578, Ryan Cluck, 359, Chip Turner, 422, Bonnie Whitaker, 580. Let it be confirmed that Ricky Hall and Bonnie Whitaker are the duly elected council members for a four-year term expiring 2027. Congratulations. So at this time, we'll ask you guys to come down front.
Please state your names. Do you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, and that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as a council member, so help you God. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we'll go on to the election of our Mayor Pro Tem.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to nominate Ricky Hall to be
Okay,
Mayor Pro Tem.
any other nominations? Do we have a motion to close nominations?
Motion to close.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll, the only, do I have a second for,
I'll second Mr. Hall's nomination.
okay? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Our new Mayor Pro Tem, Ricky Hall. You'll step down, take your oath.
Please state your name. Do you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as Mayor Pro Tem, so help you God.
Now we'll ask for Miss Janice Evans of Women, WOMEN, and Alopecia Social. Please come forward to the podium. System attacks hair follicles and causes hair loss. And whereas there is no cure for alopecia, but there are treatments and resources to help people cope with hair loss. And whereas Janice Evans' mission is to bring awareness to alopecia through her foundation, Alopecia Social. And whereas Alopecia Social is an organization that hosts events throughout the year to help change the trajectory of the lives of those with alopecia. And whereas Alopecia Social hosts an annual summit that brings in experts from around the world, such as dermatologists, a trichologist, cosmetologist, and mental health therapists to share through educational classes, hands-on workshops, tools, resources, and solutions. And whereas Janice Evans is also the founder of WOVEN, Women of Virtue Excellence Nationwide. And whereas Woven, WOVEN, hosts annual conferences for women to receive support through seminars from influential speakers on financial planning, business entrepreneurial workshops, self-improvement clinics, self-care, health, and wellness. And whereas Janice Evans continues to shine by advocating throughout the state, don't stare, just ask, redefining alopecia and empowering women to not be ashamed, but to embrace and build their confidence to just be you. Love that. Now, therefore, I, Jennifer Talley, Mayor of the City of Graham, and on behalf of the City Council, hereby recognizes Janice Evans for her efforts in bringing awareness to alopecia presented this 12th day of December, 2023.
Thank you.
We'll now ask for Miss Patricia Rhodes from Stout, Stewart, McGowan, and King. And Miss Becky Lloyd, please come forward. Did I say that right? Stout.
Stewart, yeah.
That's that's not on here right then. It's Stout on here, and I didn't think that was right.
Yeah, Stout, Stewart, McGowan, and King.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought. It's got one too many stouts.
Too many stouts.
Okay.
Oh, man. Well, thank you, Mayor, Council, for allowing me to be here tonight to go over the audit for the year ending June 30th, 2023. I have Joey Purgason from our firm with me. He works on the audit, and also Becky's Loy from Cavazico Loy is with us tonight. As independent auditors, we work for the council. We actually work with the city staff on the audit.
This is the 9th year of the arrangement where Becky Loy and Kabazikiel Loy work with the city finance staff to streamline the year-end process and prepare the financial statements. They also provide assistance during the year on other accounting matters. Now, what that does is, as Stout, Stewart, McGowan and King, as the audit firm, we have to stay independent of the city, and there's certain things that we just cannot do for the city. So Becky and her firm do the things that allow us to be independent. And so that service is working well, and we appreciate all her input and help with the audit. We've completed the audit for June 30th, 2023. Our audit opinion letter states that the preparation of the financial statements is the responsibility of the management. The expression of an opinion on the financial statements based on the audit is the responsibility of the auditor. The financial statements were prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and the audit was performed in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. We are issuing an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, and that's the best and cleanest opinion that can be received. There were no major changes to the statements from the prior year, and there were no new Governmental Accounting Standards Board pronouncements adopted in these financial statements. The management discussion and analysis that appears on page 5 of the financial statements of the report is a good and overall summary of a very detailed report that is many, many pages. And I'm going to go over just a few financial highlights from those, and then I'll go into some more detail a little later on. The net position of the city of Graham, total overall net position is $90,677,000. And that's on the full accrual basis. The governmental funds.
Do you mind telling me what page you're on?
It's actually, it's in the financial statements on page 5, the printed financial statements. The governmental funds are the ending fund balance for the governmental funds at June 30th, 2023 were $18,715,000. And that was a net increase of a little over $2.2 million on the budgetary basis. The general fund itself has an ending fund balance of $13,355,000. And that's 82% of the total general fund expenditures for the fiscal year. Now, the state average for most municipalities is around 50%. The minimum required by the state is 8%. So you can see the city of Graham is well above that percentage. And actually, the city does have a fund balance policy that says that fund balance must be maintained at 30%. So you're still well above that 30%. And the water and sewer fund produced an excess of revenue over expenditures in the amount of right at $812,000 on the budgetary basis. We do consider internal control during our audit. We're required to report to the council any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies that come to our attention. Nothing came to our attention that we were required to report to you. And there were also no prior year findings that needed to be corrected. Now we'll take a look at some of the slides. We'll start with the general fund. Yeah. So okay. Well, this is the taking a look at 10 years worth of information for the general fund, and this is on the budgetary basis.
Could you tell me what page you're on? I'm sorry.
It's on the slides.
Not in here.
No.
Okay.
This is kind of just some summary information that is pulled from the financial statement.
Yeah, but I'm never going to be able to read that. That's why I was trying to read it here.
I'm
sorry.
That's okay. The revenues exceeded the expenditures in the general fund by a little over $1.8 million. And that's before transfers, any transfers that took place. The ad valorem tax revenue was up a little over $300,000 from the prior year. The tax collection rate remains high at 98.02%. And the local option sales tax revenue was up a little over $475,000 from the prior year. Overall revenues increased a little over $2 million from the prior year. And overall expenditures did increase a little over $1.7 million, or about 12% from the prior year. But one thing to point out that is in the financial statements is that even though the expenditures were up, the city remained within the budget for the year. So there was no over expensing on the budget. Everything was all the expenses were within budget. So good place to be. The next slide is the water and sewer fund. For the water and sewer fund for June 30th of 2023, the revenues exceeded the expenditures by over $2.2 million, and that was before transfers. There was an overall increase in total revenue of almost $2.9 million from the previous year. There was an increase in the charges for services over $1.1 million from the prior year, and connection fees increased over $1.3 million from the prior year. There was an increase in total expenses of a little over $1.3 million, or about 17% increase in expenses. And there was an increase in the revenue over expenditures, or net income, of $1.6 million from the prior year. Are there any questions on the general fund and the water? So I'm going through kind of quickly, but.
So are you saying that the expenses based on the CPI from last year to this year, pretty consistent with, what you see other people
Yes, well,
also,
I mean,
or maybe we're-
expenses have increased everywhere.
Right.
And so, yes, I mean, there's more expenses because, you know, more
Things cost more.
Things cost more. That's right. So it's pretty consistent.
And I know, like, I know we were really concerned when we looked at the water sewer fund, because the chemicals to treat that were just absolutely out of the park expensive. Things were going up 100%, 200%.
Yeah.
300%.
Right, exactly.
Crazy.
Exactly. And there again, the city has done, management has done a great job to keep everything within budget. But of course you had to budget more because expenses went up.
Yeah.
And yes, we're seeing that everywhere.
But
Yes.
we went out and tried to get grants and things like that to be able to handle the shortfalls that we knew we were going to have.
Right, and I'll speak to some of the capital projects in just a few minutes too, which y'all have done a great job of tapping into some funds from the state. So I'll go into that in just a sec. The last slide is on the garage fund. And of course, this is an internal service fund. And so for an internal service fund, you like to break even. And so you can see that the garage fund had just a slight loss of about $70,000. And that's a little bit more than last year, which was about $68,000. But that's about where you want to be with an internal service fund. Of course, expenditures were up, revenues were up, but everything was pretty much right at break even where they needed to be. The next slide is a lot of data too, but it actually is 3 years worth of data, and it includes assets, liabilities, fund balance, and some useful ratios. And the last two columns on this, and of course I can provide printed copies of this also.
If
The
you
last
could email me a copy of
Sure,
the slides, I
sure,
appreciate it.
sure.
Thank you.
The last two columns are the actual dollar amount increase, and then the last column is the percentage increase. But two things to note for the general fund and for the water and sewer fund, cash increased in both funds, and so that's always good to increase your cash and not decrease your cash. The last part of the slides is a letter that we're required as auditors to present to those in charge of governance, which is you, the council. And it's required by our professional standards to communicate certain things about our audit. But just to summarize the letter, we had no problems performing our audit. We had no difficulties or disagreements with management during our audit. And so everything went very smoothly. And again, just to summarize the overall audit, the city has been extremely busy, and y'all know that, with many water and sewer capital projects in progress at the end of the year. And just to name a few, the wastewater treatment plant upgrade, which is a very large water sewer capital project, but also the Boyd Creek Pump Station and Old Fields Outfall, which are kind of winding down. And then just getting started for this past fiscal year, the 10-inch water line replacement. But in all those, the city has been able to tap into either financing or grants to help pay for a lot of those projects, which is, the state has a lot of funds available, and y'all have definitely taken advantage of that. So does anyone have any questions for me? Well, anytime you have questions, please contact us. We'll be glad to answer. I know that's a very large report and a lot of numbers, but we'd be glad to go over any of those with y'all. But thank you, council, for allowing us to be here tonight and to be the audit firm for the city of Graham. And I want to thank Megan, Aaron, Melanie, and all the city staff for their cooperation during the audit. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. I had a lot of questions, but we answered them in our audit committee meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
But thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to get Ricky to get broke in here on the consent agenda that we have here. I'd like to recuse myself for a year-end tax release.
Hold on. Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we pull item B and allow you to vote on items A, C, and D.
Okay. To approve the consent agenda, A, to approve the November 13th, 2023 special meeting minutes and the November 30th, 2023 special open session meeting minutes, to approve and seal the November 13th closed session meeting minutes and the November 30th, 2023 closed session meeting minutes. C, to approve a budget amendment reallocating the general fund expenditures for fees no longer paid by the city. D, to approve the following 2024 city council meeting dates and 6 p.m. meeting time as spelled out in the agenda: January 9th, February 13th, March 12th, April 9th, May 14th, June 11th, July 9th, August 13th, September 10th, October 8th, November 12th, December 10th. I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda A, C, and D.
Mayor
Madam Mayor.
Talley, if I may ask, if you could get a second to Mayor Pro Tem's motion to remove
I'm
item
sorry.
B
Yes,
and take a vote on it,
sorry.
please.
I'll second Mayor Pro Tem's.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion now to approve items A, C, and D.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve A, C, and D.
Do I hear a second?
I'll
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Make a motion to recuse myself. Do I hear a second?
I'll second your motion, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
We have one item left for us, item B. It is tax releases totaling $37,235.10. Yes, 735, I'm sorry. I make a motion that we approve the release.
I second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion that we allow the mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Public hearings, rezoning of 53.904 acres off Mayfield Drive. A public hearing has been scheduled to consider rezoning 53.904 acres from R18 low-density residential to conditional residential CR to extend the fourth phase of Roger Springs to construct an additional 92 single-family homes. And this is going to be a public hearing, and I would like to recognize Megan Garner.
Good evening, Mayor Talley and City Council. The item before you is a request to rezone 53.904 acres of property from R18 low-density residential to CR conditional residential for the purpose of extending the fourth phase of Roger Springs to construct an additional 92 single-family homes. The site plans to connect public roadways, water, and sewer throughout the existing phases of Roger Springs. The Phase 4 project will span across two properties, one which is already zoned R9 and the remaining area which is being conditionally rezoned. The property is mostly inside the suburban residential future land use zone, while the area near the river makes up the rural residential area, which can't be built upon due to it being in the floodway. The future land use plan notes that principal uses in the suburban residential zone predominantly are made up with detached single-family homes, and the appropriate density is 3 to 6 dwelling units per acre. The development comes in below the appropriate density of 161 to 318 units. Planning Board recommended approval with a vote of 7-0 with the conditions that all lots meet the 9,000 square foot requirement. The active open space incorporate a recreational use such as a dog park, gazebo, playground, etc., and install fencing around the open space area if appropriate. And I will point out, we have our city planner, Cameron West, here if the city council has any specific questions.
Good afternoon.
So this is a public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to speak on the proposed rezoning, is there anyone here to speak on the proposed rezoning? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we open the public hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hello, good evening. My name is Paul Lawler. I'm with Bowman Consulting Group. We are the civil engineer on this project, working with Shugart Homes. We also have Jason Ewing and Chandler Turpin with Shugart here this evening to answer any questions. First, I'd like to start off by just thanking staff working with us through this project. This is the same project that came before council back in August. At that point, we withdrew the application based on conversation during that meeting, and kind of went back to the drawing board for this Phase 4 portion, and submitted a conditional rezoning request that went through planning board last month, and got that recommended approval towards the end of last month. Cameron, do you have the PowerPoint? All right, so just to refresh everyone's memory, site location, this is Phase 4 of Roger Springs, as it's been mentioned. This is on the back portion, back behind Phase 3. To the west of us, there's the Forks of Alamance subdivision that's existing, and this site is located generally at the Rogers Road and Lacey Holt Road intersection. For access, there are 3 points of ingress egress for this Phase 4 development. Channel Street being the first point that is part of the Phase 1 development of Rogers Springs. The second two, Lacey Holt Road and Rogers, and Mayfield Drive and Rogers Road, those are part of the Forks of Alamance existing subdivision. One thing to note is that as part of the Phase 1 improvements for Rogers Springs on the Channel Street access, there was a southbound left turn lane added to that intersection. And here, this is a slide showing our revised site plan and the proposed site conditions, essentially the conditional rezoning plan that we're presented at planning board and then here this evening to you all. The subject site is 53.9 acres. Our proposed lot count on this portion, so on the subject property, it is 84 lots. There is a small remaining portion of the phase 3 parcel that has a few lots on it. So the total lots for the phase 4 portion is 92 lots. The proposed density for this site plan is 1.6 units per acre, which is below the 3 to 6 from the comprehensive plan that's referenced in the suburban residential. The open space for this proposed conditional site plan, as part of the conditional residential district that we applied for, there's a requirement of 10% open space. We are proposing 49% open space. The shaded green area is all undisturbed open space, and then the yellow portion is disturbed open space within development. So there is a significant just undisturbed area south of the main development area. So our next slide kind of zooms in on the western portion of the phase 4 improvements. A couple things to highlight. One thing that has been mentioned just early on with staff and then kind of through this entire process is making sure that we're incorporating future connections for future development. So that there is a property to the north of this site that has developable land on it. And so we did make sure that there is a future, a roadway stub for future connections. So that's shown here with the blue arrow. And then we also have the active open space that was brought up and mentioned in the planning board meeting, shown down there in green. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a couple of slides. As far as the overall design for the project, residential conditional district that we are applying for, the R9 district standards are the dimensional standards that we are to follow. So we have a minimum lot width of 60 feet and then a minimum square footage for each lot of 9,000 square feet. And all lots on phase 4 do meet that minimum 9,000 square feet and the minimum width. This is the east portion of this phase 4 development. Really, there haven't been many changes to this portion of the site. There is a roadway connection to the north, highlighted there in blue. We did submit our construction drawings for phase 4 to the technical review committee back in October to get initial feedback from all the reviewing departments. And we got feedback back and had a meeting with staff to discuss those. And we did incorporate a couple changes, one being the cul-de-sac. Wanted to make sure that cul-de-sac meets fire design standards. And so we went ahead and incorporated those changes in this site plan. And now to kind of get into some of the open space items that came up in the planning board meeting, and we've been talking with the developer Shugart on this. This is a zoom-in version of the phase 4 active open space that we are proposing. We are looking to do a dog park. This is a photo from another development that Shugart has done in the area. Something very similar to this with fencing. The plan currently shows sidewalk connection to the overall sidewalk network for Rogers Springs. We are proposing some sitting areas within this portion of the phase 4 active open space, landscaping improvements. One thing from a design standpoint that we looked at is just the location of this active open space relative to lot 55. Wanted to make sure that if we're putting a dog park in there, that there's some good buffering for that lot. So we're incorporating a 10-foot landscape buffer between the open space and that lot with evergreen plantings to make sure that that's buffered. So yeah, that's the improvements for the active open space on phase 4. One other thing that Shugart has been discussing is making some improvements also to an area in phase 1 of this development. There's an area, Cameron, if you can go to the next slide, that's highlighted here in green. So this is phase 1, the Channel Street access. There's a there's some open space right there in green that, really is not utilized at this point. It was originally planned for, another cul-de-sac, but it seemed like there were some issues that came up from a, an environmental standpoint. And so that is an open area that, can be, incorporated with some open space. And so what Sugar has been considering is, keeping the CBUs, the mailboxes in that location, which they currently are, but then also making some improvements behind, the mailboxes, and a proposed playground and picnic area, just kind of gathering area for the subdivision is what's being planned, along with some landscaping improvements along that Channel Street frontage and kind of back behind the CBUs and the playground. And yeah, that's really all I have, and happy to answer any questions. Also have Sugar here to answer any questions that you all may have for them as well. So thank you for the opportunity to present this.
How much of this property is in the flood zone?
It's roughly about like 24 to 25 acres.
Out of the 50,
Yes, ma'am.
so half of it.
It's roughly about half.
So when you say that it's, the density is so many per acres, you're including the property that you couldn't build on, is that correct?
That's correct. The 1.6 units per acre is including the entire site area.
So what is the density if you don't include that?
It was below the 3 to 6 acres. Back at planning board, this was mentioned. It was 2.8 acres, or sorry, 2.8 units per acre is what we determined in the previous planning board meeting.
2.8 acres per unit.
Units per acre.
And that was a relatively kind of rough, I guess, estimate that we were going off of. I think we had some GIS data that we were measuring off of, that wasn't probably 100% accurate. So I wouldn't hang your hat on that number to be quite exact, but it was around that part. So.
But it wasn't more than 6 unit dwellings.
No, ma'am.
And where, can you show me where the lines are for R18 as it stands now zoned?
So let's get back to the other slides here. So the outline that you see here in blue is where the R18 stands. And the other outside on the left-hand side is where the R9 is at. And let's see if we can kind of, so pretty much where this line right here is drawn kind of cuts off the R9 on this side with these 6, 7 homes. And then everything on this right-hand side is the remainder R18 that's being conditionally rezoned.
So when we talked to you about coming back with something that was meeting in the middle between the R18 and the R9 and coming back with something that was an R12, what changes did you make? Because it didn't seem like there was any changes from the last time this was proposed.
So the changes that we did make, we adjusted some of the lots, adjusted some of the roadway alignments. And yeah, I mean, our standard that we were going off of was the R9 conditional residential standards. The lot mix that we have as part of the project, between 9 and 10,000 square feet, we have 61% lots. And then as you kind of get up into the larger lots, there are 28% of the lots are 12,000 square feet or larger. So we do have some larger, 28% of the lots. So as you kind of look at this picture, as you go around from the east side, kind of down to the south, all along the flood zone area, those lots are significantly larger than the 12,000 square
But that's
foot.
only because you can't use the property, right? Because it's in the flood zone.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, yeah, there would be an option to slide the road further east and incorporate like walls along that area to bring more lots inside the development, but we didn't feel that was worth it.
Will there be an HOA? Are you
Yes, ma'am.
proposing an HOA? Tell me where these connect to existing streets.
Yeah, Cameron, maybe that PowerPoint slide. So this is one of the proposed connection, Mayfield Drive. There's an intersection as part of Phase 3 that's tying into this Phase 4 portion. There's also Channel Street that hits that same intersection. That is in Phase 3 of the development. Cameron, can you go back a couple slides? And then, yeah, here's kind of a better picture of where traffic ties into the existing networks. Along Rogers Road, there's bullet point number 1, Channel Street. That's Phase 1 of Rogers.
And where's the progress of those roads? Are all those roads in now?
No, ma'am, it's
Yeah.
it's just Phase 1 at this point. So phases 2 and 3 are kind of those, yeah, those parcels right there that.
Right,
Cameron's
but for,
highlighting.
say, Channel Street, is any part of that road in?
All those roads that are in phase 1 are connected to Rogers Road already, pre-existing,
Yes.
They're brand new.
the past year or two.
Yeah, as part of, yeah, Roger.
Have you
as-
done like final, like the top, proofing and all that?
I don't believe the top course is on.
I don't believe so either, Madam Mayor. Whenever that comes up as something, whenever they're ready to put that final lift on, they'll come to you all next, and ask for you all to take over maintenance of the roads. So they haven't requested for you all to take over or the city to take over maintenance of the roads yet. So that top layer of asphalt isn't on. So they still have a bond in place for all of, pretty much that phase was 1A and 1B, which is all this, kind of you see here, and the rest grayed out is what's been, their construction drawings have been approved for this area, I believe. So they're planning on connecting all these roadways through here. So even if they were to come and ask to put the final lift on, we wouldn't accept it because they'd still have construction traffic coming here through phase 2 and 3. That's about all.
And was that originally, wasn't it all R18 and they got it rezoned to R9? Is that right?
I believe so. I wasn't here during that time whenever it exchanged it back to from R18 to R9, but I think it was back before the 2020s, maybe 2018, 2019.
Okay,
I think it was both of these properties. I believe this is Forks of the Alamance down here as well.
and did you, what's the setbacks from the side setbacks from the house and the front setbacks?
I believe it's 30 foot from the front and 15 feet from the sides. I could be wrong though.
I've got that right here.
8 foot on the sides.
Yeah, it's 8 feet on the sides. You know, front is 30.
And you said we have proposed, in describing that additional open space, you said you'd propose the playground picnic area, but that's not what you're actually proposing in the conditional use, is that right? As you have it drawn, it's not included.
Are you referring to the phase 1 portion or the dog park that's in this area right here?
No, not talking about the dog park, the picnic area, that.
So yeah, that would be part of phase 1, which is technically, I guess, not part of this application. But it is an area that Sugar is looking to improve for the residents of the community.
But that's not something that you're saying, you're just, why are you telling me that if that's not part of this? That's what I'm asking.
Just as an improvement to the overall community. Chandler, do you want to?
But are you saying that you're gonna do it or you're just thinking about doing it?
I'll let Chandler speak to
Okay.
that as he's the representative.
Yeah, Chandler Turpin with Sugar Homes. So we recognize that this area in phase one, I'm brand new to Sugar Homes, so started riding these jobs. And originally there was supposed to be a cul-de-sac there. For some reason, didn't happen. So just as an act of good faith, we want to commit to building this playground, giving the residents something in the community to use. The open space in phase four, dog park, give the residents a place to, sit, relax, put benches, trees, and make it look really nice. But out here behind the CBUs, it's a very large area. It gives us a chance to do playground, picnic area. Explore the one thing we are exploring with the picnic area is whether to do it covered or not. So we're just trying to get further into design before we figure out what exactly we want to do. But what we are committing to is everything that's listed out here: the playground, the picnic and gathering area, meandering sidewalks going to that gathering area and the playground, and landscaping improvements. So right now, that last lot, that sidewalk just ends at the last lot on the left as you're coming in before you get to that open space. So it just stops there, and there's all sorts of rocks and debris that's left over, and it just looks bad. So we want to come in and re-landscape and make it look really nice as the face of this community as residents are driving in. So we just wanted to throw this in here for tonight, just as a commitment that to show that Sugar Homes is invested in this community.
You said the name of the homes, are you saying Schubert?
Sugar,
Sugar,
Yeah.
SHU.
GART. I'm still trying to figure it out myself.
Okay. And do you have, any pictures that you're presenting tonight of what those homes in that area would look like? Any examples of model homes?
I don't. We are building the same product. I'll let Jason Ewing step in.
Is Sugar Homes the same thing as Mungo Homes?
Yes, we are owned by Mungo Homes. We're a subsidiary of Mungo Homes. The same product that we're currently building in phase one will be the product that will be in phase 2, 3, and 4. It's our Vanguard product. And if you are on the website, you can see some of the inventory we have currently available in Roger Spring.
Roger Springs?
Yes.
Do you mind stating your name and address?
Yeah, Jason Ewing, 221 Jonestown Road, Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
And what is the setbacks on these homes?
It should be the same zoning setback. Should be, I believe, the 30-foot front and 8-foot sides.
Part of that? I can't read that, I'm sorry. Is that Glacier Court up there?
Geyser
Yes,
Court?
Geyser?
Yes, ma'am. I believe that's, what is that, the phase 1B up here?
I believe that is
So-
one thing.
I guess this is an old Google imagery where you can see, I guess they started the construction through 1A and then the 1B is kind of extending up through here. But yes, ma'am, this is a part of, I guess, the overall Roger Springs development.
So most of these will be 3 or 4 bedrooms?
Yes, ma'am. We also have 5-bedroom plans in the Vanguard line as well. The streets, Chandler just let me know that the streets are paved all the way through phase 2. I believe, didn't we just plat phase 2?
What is the majority of the square footage of the lots?
Paul might have some data on the square footage of the different phases.
So total lot count for all 4 phases is around 240. I do have a breakdown of the phase 4 lot sizes. If that was the specific question. Is that what you're referring to?
That's the only thing that's on the agenda for tonight, right?
Yes, ma'am. So between 9,000 and 10,000 square feet, there are 56 lots, which is 61% of phase 4. Between 10,000 and 11,000 square feet, there are 6 lots, that's 6%. 11,000 and 12,000 square feet, there are 4 lots, roughly 4%. And then 12,000 square feet and larger, there are 26 lots at 28%.
You know the road width going through there on the existing?
Right of way width is 50 feet.
Looking at the actual drivable road width.
Drivable, let me check that. It
Might be
is
27.
27 feet. Yes, sir.
And that's what's proposed in the new part as well,
Yes, sir.
27 throughout.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Road width.
That's the use of the 27.
Well, there's one even narrower, but yeah, 31's ideal for that much density.
What about the garages? Are they 2-car garages, 3-car garages on average? What are we looking at there?
So we'll propose 2-car garages in phase 4.
Do you have any 5-bedroom houses with proposed 2-car garages in this phase?
I couldn't answer that off the top of my head. I can find out if you wanted some examples. We've got, of all of our floor plans in the Vanguard line, I believe there's 3 that are 5 bedrooms, and then there's 2 others that have optional 5th bedrooms. But all of the Vanguard have at least 2-car garage. There are some 3-car garage options, some plans that can fit them better than others. But they are all minimum 2-car garage.
Thank you.
And how much of a driveway do you have? You've got enough to basically, like from the road to the house, do you have enough to park 4 cars, just 2 cars? So you theoretically having 2 cars in the garage. What I'm trying to say is that we don't typically like 27-foot wide roadways if we're gonna have cars in the road, trailers, whatever.
Paul might have some of the calculations, I believe, with the 30-foot front setbacks. So you'll have a minimum of 30 foot of driveway. And as far as trailers, that would be covered in the HOA covenants. That trailers and other commercial type equipment cannot be parked into the roadway.
Okay.
Are all these homes going to be built on pads?
Yes, sir.
Was there any particular reason that how the lots, I'm looking at sheet 3-2, where it seems that the first 3 rows of homes up on the Mayfield and then the homes north on Flow Street, they're all 9,000 square feet. And And then you put all the larger lots on the periphery. I mean, by having all the 9,000 square foot homes basically in line, it really makes it look congested. And comments I've received from neighbors and residents, is one of, if there's a way, if it's just a perspective where it doesn't look like they're built on top of each other. So those 3 rows of houses are all basically 9,000 square feet. And then you go to the 4th row of houses, and then it begins to vary to larger lots. And again, it's just a perception of, it's like you're just seeing block homes. It's just boom, boom, boom. They all, they they're all gonna look like the same house.
Even the ones on the right are gonna look like the same because the lot is in the depth, not in the width.
Right.
So you don't have if you had a perfect square, they would look more spaced out, but because they're rectangular, they're still gonna look very close together.
And based on the floor plan and the elevations, the Vanguard plans have more elaborate elevations than some of the entry-level homes we offer in our Genesis product line, which is not being built here. So you've got more architectural improvements where you've got larger overhangs. The fronts of the homes are a little bit more decorative than there's some builders out there that are in the very entry level, which, I like to call those just marble boxes, that they are literally just a square rectangular shape with shutters and a roof on it. And if you look, if you're able to pull up the website and look at some of our floor plans and some of the homes that are already built out there, you can see the architectural detail that's on the face of our homes. They really fit well. I certainly hear what you're saying with them being close together. Another thing to consider, these in those rows that you are referencing, Councilman Chin, they look to be all 63-foot wide lots. Our Vanguard, the largest Vanguard, is 44-foot wide. We have a couple floor plans that are 40-foot and a couple that are 42-foot. So 44-foot wide, that gives you a little bit more of a side setback than what the minimum 8-foot side setback is.
So how many stories? So it's basically like 2.5 stories.
Just 2-story.
They're all 2 stories.
Those are actually ones that are already built in that.
Okay.
That's existing, that's already in the neighborhood now. The one that Cameron had up there a minute ago.
Oh,
Go back.
Some of these that are already on the market,
Yeah.
new homes, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And Jason, I mean, some of the stuff that these plans right here, these some of the ones that you were referring to, with the Warwick, I assume.
Yeah, so the Warwick and the Saluda, those both have 3-car garage because the 3rd car is more internal to the floor plan. The other ones have optional 3-car garages in some neighborhoods. But the optional 3rd car is just what's called a scab 3rd car. It's not a 2-story structure. It's just a 1-car garage that's attached to the side that extends the footprint about 11.5 feet. But you can see the front elevations on here. It's not your basic just square vinyl face. We have brick and stone options, and there is a good variety. When we go in, we do market homes where our design team decides what homes are going to be built as specs to be sold. But then there's also build jobs where people can come in and buy and pick out what floor plan and what lot and what specifics they want with theirs. So we've got our design team, our sales team, production team that all work very closely to make sure, we don't put two of the same floor plans next to each other. Where you get that look where it's repetitive and it looks very cookie cutter.
Okay.
Would you be open, would the developer is the developer here tonight?
Yes, that's,
Okay, would the developer be open to, changing the density? Lowering the number of homes that are in there, and increasing the, lot size? I thought we made that clear I tried to make that clear at the last meeting. I was just kind of disappointed that the lot sizes are not larger than what they are.
yeah, we were running with the same that has been approved in phase 1, 2, and 3. And
Yeah, but I was trying to get you not to waste your money on trying to, this is a new council from what I can tell you, I absolutely did not vote for R9, nor would I vote for R9. So I have consistent, no matter what developer has come in here, I have not done that. I just think that the density you're basically selling these homes for $500,000, and people, I just think for, a $500,000 house doesn't need to be right on top of the next house. And there's a reason for setbacks and things like that. I strongly disagreed with previous councils doing 3-foot setbacks. That was crazy to me. You can't even get a mower in between two houses with a 3-foot setback. So, setbacks are for safety and for a lot of different reasons. And one house catches on fire, then the next house catches on fire, and the next house catches on fire. I think we've seen that at the beach where land is so hard to come by, and people want to have that intense density. But, I just feel that I understand the expenses of developing, and I know that R18 is not something, and I tell people when they talk to me about that, they're like, well, it's zoned R18. I'm like, nobody is developing at R18. So I was trying to come up with a compromising solution, and I was really hoping you guys would come back with something that was more in line with R12.
And maybe, Madam Mayor, we might have misunderstood when we were here in August, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong. Some of the concerns about the density was the overall density of the site as a whole, the 53.9 acres. And what, if somebody wanted to go in and build in the floodplain, you can build, it just creates more liability for the end user, the buyer. And that's why we went the conventional route. And I believe, didn't we cap the units as part of the?
I think the same number of units that you proposed originally are the same number of units you're proposing tonight.
Yes.
Is that not correct?
I believe, didn't we put a limitation on that? Because I think that was one of the concerns, if I remember, someone brought up. If we were to decide not to build in phase 4 and sell this to somebody else, and they could come in and build out more than what we had proposed, we had put that cap of the 84 units in this section of phase 4, that we wouldn't, that would be a condition on the rezoning, that it couldn't have any more than those units.
So how many units do you think you could get in there with R12? Around 70?
The engineer would have to evaluate that.
Yeah, it's really hard to say at this point how many we could get in with the minimum 12,000 square foot lot. One other thing to consider with this property and the floodway, there's significant topography across this slope. And so we looked at the grading initially as we did this initial layout, and really tried to do what made sense from a grading standpoint, not implementing walls all over the property, and also getting getting a roadway network in there that made sense. We also have a power line easement that cuts through this site. And that's kind of what's restricting the overall kind of depth on this the kind of the northern part piece, sorry, excuse me. In those first three rows that Councilmember Chin was saying, that the top three were that 9,000 square feet. That power line easement is kind of restricting the developable area or depth in that portion of the site. So we do have some restraints on this piece that we are working with from a existing conditions standpoint. But it is at this point very kind of hard to say how many we could get if we were to increase the 12,000 square foot lot. I think we would lose probably portions of those south lots, given that we're restricted to the amount of depth that we have to work with there. So I think we would have the south lots go away, and then you have roads on the south portion that are just single loaded, which become very costly from a development standpoint because you're putting in the same amount of road, but for half the number of houses. So from a development cost standpoint, that drives up the overall infrastructure costs.
You mean down at the bottom?
Yes, ma'am. I'm thinking just kind of off the top of my head here that if we were to go to 12,000 square feet, we definitely have to increase the depths of the lot. So that would push everything to the south, which would eliminate all of those houses on the south portion below Flow Street and Channel Street. And so Flow Street and Channel Street would then become single loaded roads, which okay, yeah, and Chandler was just mentioning that we would lose the 48 through 55, which are those lots that Cameron's highlighting right now. But the roads would stay just single loaded on the north side. So again, driving up development costs, infrastructure costs.
Oh, it was stated by Mayor Talley back in our August minutes. She had asked if the developers would be open to R12 conditional rezoning. I believe your response to her was that you would like to come back, you would like to evaluate R12 zoning requirements and add community amenities and then come back to council. So I think what we're saying is we're a little disappointed that you basically came back with the same thing. You just dressed it up a little bit and pulled a lipstick on it, and you didn't really come back with R12. You didn't really come back with anything different than, and that's what you originally stated you were going to do. So I think that's what the mayor was referring to.
I mean, I feel like we're giving it, we're not saying do R18. We understand that that's probably not feasible. And I feel like we're trying to meet in the middle, but you've got to meet us in the middle. We're not, I don't think I'm not willing to do R9. And if you guys are willing to do R12 and with the open space provisions, have some sort of minimum size for the lot size under the conditional rezoning, and just have some sort of open space there with either a park or a dog park or a playground or whatever, like you're going to have in the phase one. I would certainly be open to that, but to just come back with the same thing that we had pretty much told you that we weren't in favor of back in August, I don't think our decision's going to be any different. Mine's not going to be any different. But I we want you to develop the property here in Graham is just, I mean, there's just nothing on the market right now here in Graham, and with two major interstates and everybody hiring Amazon, UPS, Toyota. I mean, it's just, we need residential housing, of course, but we want something that is not going to be clustered housing. And I think what you build looks very nice on the website. But I just would like to see something that, is, closer to R12.
So, Madam Mayor, first, I apologize. We must have had miscommunication in understanding that if the minutes state that your expectation was R12, I think we were looking at just adding conditions to the R9. So that was our fault, that we didn't have
Okay.
clear what the expectation was. I do believe, if I remember, and Cameron, maybe you can lead us, the open space provisions. I remember reading that back before the August hearing. Is that the R12 with the open space provision that allows for, is it 10,000 square foot lots?
So I believe that's strictly for just major subdivision processes. So that's if, we currently had a R12 zone lot out here where you could set aside open space and reduce it down to that 10,000 square foot. But since, this is kind of already, or is going to be a conditional request, then I don't think that borderline falls in there unless it's an added in condition per se, because it's not, I guess, an open space subdivision. This is a conditional rezoning residential. So that's kind of how I would view it in the eyes of staff here.
But I mean, I think it could be a condition to say, like, in certain lots that maybe the topography wouldn't work or something, that the lot wouldn't be any smaller than like 11,000 square feet, or, if you asked for 10,500 square feet or something like that. But I just don't think that we're willing to go to 9,000 for 50% of the property.
So, and Chandler or Paul, hit me if this doesn't work. What I'm hearing, some of the big concerns is you just don't want the houses on top of each other.
We don't
right?
want the density that you're proposing.
So,
And again, I say we, I really shouldn't, I'm one person, but that's what I'm hearing from other people too tonight.
so just trying to understand better how we can make changes to this plan that would be acceptable to you all. As Paul said, sort of the site conditions we have limits some of how we can reorganize it. The lot width, I think the minimum lot width in R9 is 60, and we're a little bit larger than that right now. If we increase the lot width, which would then increase the side setbacks of the homes, that would allow us to keep the same linear plan, the streets. We would lose density that way, because obviously if you take and add a couple feet in between homes, you're going to lose a couple lots.
Right.
I don't know what that would do to the density, but that would be easier than trying to make all these lots 10 or 11 or 12,000 square foot and have to completely redesign, because you would have to go to deeper lots, or probably 85 or 90 foot wide lots, it would be costly on the development side and the home building side, because we do sod and irrigation systems, that all that cost would then go into the homes, and you would easily add probably another $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to the price of the homes. And we want to be cognizant of the affordability of the homes as well. Some of the businesses that you spoke about that are in this area that have employees that are looking for housing, they're not all upper level executive management positions. So we want to be cognizant that the price point is affordable for the middle class worker that is 75, 80% of the population.
I don't know what that would look like, but I mean, if you want to, I hate to have you, come back to next month's meeting. I'm not trying to, cost you money to do that, but I don't know if you want us to take a vote on this as it's being proposed tonight, because I don't know that that would go in your favor, or if you want to come back with something that's
yeah,
less dense.
I guess some direction and, we're in a conditional rezoning right now, that if we could add conditions regarding minimum lot width, that we wouldn't have to start all over again like we did after August. I think that would work.
Why do you say you started all over again with August? Because this looks like the same thing.
From a application standpoint, we had to go back
Okay,
and
yeah.
reapply and go through
Oh, yeah, okay.
TRC and planning board. So if you all, is there a minimum lot width that you feel would be, what kind of separation, I guess, would you like to see between the homes? Right now, you've got about 10-foot sides, so there's probably about 19 feet between homes.
More or less around 16, I guess, with that 8-foot side setback.
Yeah, well, ours are, these lots are 63-foot wide,
Mm-hmm.
and our footprints are no larger than 44 foot.
Okay.
So you've got 19 foot there that represent the sides, so really about 9.5-foot side setbacks is where we're at right now. Which, between the two homes, that's almost 20 feet between the two homes.
What would what is it for R12?
80 feet lot width, I believe, is a requirement for just a basic R12. But you take that into consideration with, I mean, we're talking about these open space subdivisions as well. And I'm pretty sure, if you were going to imply that on an already R12 zone lot, I think it kicks it down to 60 in that open space. But if you're just basing off R12 alone, it's 80 feet.
And you're at what?
These look to be in the majority of this section that Councilman Chin was calling out is 63. If we met in the middle and set a 70-foot minimum lot width, would that be something that you all would be willing to consider if we had the engineer redraw? Like I said, that obviously you're going to lose density if you're having to add 7 foot to every lot. That would give you additional separation and a little bit of reduced density.
And I think we're talking about the houses 1 through 24, 51 through 80,
70 through 80.
and then 90 through
81.
81,
Yes, sir.
because all the other homes are larger. They all,
I don't know.
The side offsets stay the same.
I don't think so. I think just the depth is more. I mean, you can't, in the cul-de-sacs, I think they're fine because they just, the width between those that you have to do just to place the home is gonna just naturally create that larger feel or look to it. But, yeah, I think.
yeah, you're right. Because they are 63. It's the depth that gives them the larger acreage.
But when you're looking at it and you don't see the backyard, you're still gonna think that those homes are right on top of each other.
Yeah, you're right.
Street view's the same. And I mean, the other thing too is you're putting that much density and you're going through the existing neighborhood with a narrow road. it's just that much more traffic on those narrow roads that you got to take into consideration too, that I take into consideration. Anyway,
I mean, I personally would like to see a 31-foot wide road. But, and that's what we used to always require. I don't know where this 27-foot thing came from, but I kind of do and I kind of don't, but I don't know that I agree with the logic behind it. It's trying to save money. But typically people that try to save money end up spending money in the end, but,
We're building it based on what requirements what staff
Yeah.
gave us is
like
what
that,
you're.
27-foot has nothing to do with you. I don't
yeah.
think. Yeah, I think that's something that,
But you build at 31 in other places.
We build whatever's required.
Is there any additional building that's gonna go on past this?
No, the limits of this track is the limits of what we.
This won't connect to anything else.
No, ma'am.
it'll connect into the Faust land to the,
Yeah, the north, we've got
Cool.
two stubs that go into the Faust property, but we don't have any control. That's owned by the Fausts.
So if, you said that if you did the, R12 and they allowed for open space based on, this is less than an acre of open space, I think it was 0.3 something. What would be the would the lot size width still be 75, 70? What would it be, Cameron?
So if you're utilizing the open space subdivisions for this R12 zoning, if you're meeting the minimum open space requirement required by it, you can have a 60-foot lot width. And the conditional rezoning already requires 10% of the lot area to be incorporated with open space already as a requirement of the conditional rezoning. I guess that's the difference between, these two is one, I guess, is on the staff side and this one's already required on the conditional thing. So it's a little bit different. But yes, ma'am, if, according to what the ordinance says, if this were to be an R12 lot and they were wanting to utilize the open space provisions, they'd have to provide, X amount of open space for a 60-foot lot width. And I'm trying to figure out exactly what that requirement is. 5 acres or more is the
They don't want to
requirement.
give up, well,
Would the 23.7 acres of dedicated open space right now that we don't have as disturbed area, would that be included in that calculation since it's all?
it's supposed to be usable area. It's not supposed to be floodplain. That's not what the original ordinance was based on, but I don't, seems like people just always, not you in particular, but I'm just saying people always seem to find a loophole in the way that that's interpreted. But I can tell you that originally the intent of that was to be take usable, buildable space, turn it into open space, and as a result, allow the developer to have smaller lot size. It wasn't to take unusable space that's floodplain space that you couldn't build on anyways, call it open space that nobody can use, and then get a smaller lot size. And I'm sorry, but we're working on rewriting that, but in the future, there won't be that loophole that people have used to do that. So
So the intention was really to do like a cluster zoning where you have the same acreage, you just condense down what's developed and you leave more of it as open space. So the density remains the same, but you
it's to
create.
reward the developer to say, well, we don't want you to just put as much housing in here as possible. We understand that if you give up something for a recreational open space or a multi-use lot, multi-use, multi-purpose recreation space, that you should get back the use, that use somewhere else, either by condensing your lots down and allowing for, you know, one for one kind of thing. That was the intent. I sat on the council when that was done, but sometimes when you explain it up here from the dais and it gets written down, and I'm sure the person that authored that knew what it was and what the intent was, but then somebody else reading it says, oh, well, you didn't account for this, or you didn't account for that, and I have this, and since you don't specifically say you can't use that, then they use that to their advantage, so to speak. And I get it. But I know what the intent was. And so it's frustrating to me, when it's being misused, but, we're going from R18, which would be 18,000 square foot lots down to 12,000 square foot lots. The width on those would be 80 feet. Do you guys want to go smaller than 80 feet wide? Or do you want to? I wouldn't want to do it to where you wouldn't be able to at least get 70 homes in there. And I just don't know the reconfiguration to know whether you would do that. I'm not trying to
Just
hurt
rough-
you.
yeah,
I'm
just
just trying to-
roughly, if, it looks to me like if you go 70 foot, you're gonna lose 12 to 14 homes. Just in my head, that's,
And that,
or will you be, I mean, you know, obviously you're in it to make money. Where's your break even point? Do you know where that's at?
we would have to recalculate that.
I mean, I'm just guessing 12 to 14 homes, so that would put you at that 70.
Yeah, that's a substantial amount, but we can, I mean, we can run some numbers. If you all would be open to just a lot width change as a condition, rather than going with the square footage of the lots where we'd have to completely redraw the whole plan to make some of those fit. You know, I don't know if we could continue this to next meeting and not have it voted on. And we can have our engineer change some of the design, and we can look and see what the density would be reduced to, so we can run our pro forma and make sure that that would work for us. And then come back prepared in your January council meeting with those changes.
I like that idea. Are you in favor of the 31-foot roadway?
Not on this particular one.
You're okay with the 27?
They got 27 going in. It's not gonna do them any good to put 31
Okay.
in this now.
Well,
If they had 31
my
coming in,
concern was it connecting to something else. I know that, Mr. Faust, who's in the back, has got his property. I think he's gonna be selling it in the near future, and I just, if that's gonna connect somewhere else, it's like, you know, just more and more of that same thing. It makes me feel better about it being in a neighborhood that has a long driveway, and if somebody's got 4 or 5 cars, they're not gonna be out in the street. Cause the 27-foot road width just doesn't work. I mean, we see it over and over again, in the 27-foot road paths that we have.
we have some
now.
25.
Yeah, we get complaints after complaints after complaints about it. Can you put no parking on here? Well, how are you gonna put no parking on the road when people have a 1-car garage and a 1-car driveway?
27
Can't do
allows
it.
for parking on one side of the road. 25 allows for none. 31, you can park on either side.
And then you go down the road like this.
And Mayor Talia, if I may, I guess, you know, if we're looking to put some additional conditions on this that may impact the site plan to, I guess, a substantial level, I don't know if it would hurt to get TRC to take another look at it, or even run it back through the whole cycle of planning board and then come back to you all as well. Because I guess that insight from both of those parties may be beneficial to the final factor of it as well. But I know that was discussion I had with Mr. Holland before the meeting about, I guess, this potentially moving forward depending upon the conditions that may apply. So I'll kind of open that up for discussion as well.
I don't think planning board would have a problem not having to put them through that, so that it wouldn't delay it another 2 months. They've already taken a look at it, and I think that they were fine with what they were proposing now, so they wouldn't be, I can't imagine that they would have an issue with it, if it's not as dense.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, Megan, would that be okay if they just went and had TRC look at it before the January meeting?
I think that would be fine and up to council discretion.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Yeah, we've already put them through that process once, so, is the rest of the council okay with that? To have that, and them just get TRC to look at it and then it be on the January meeting?
Is that gonna be based on 70-foot lots, did they say, or? Is that what?
If that's what your will and pleasure is, then that's, if you just give us the direction, then we'll redraw it and rerun the financials to make sure it works. And so we have everything prepared before we come back in January.
I'd say 70.
So just for the record as well, I'm trying to, I guess, look at the next TRC schedule. The next deadline for submittals is the 18th of December. That's next Monday, for review on the 2nd of January. And the next review would be on the 15th of January. So, just within that time frame, I don't know if we'd have to set aside another, I guess, meeting to take a look at the technical review committee, if you all could think you can kind of bust it out in like a week or so.
When is your January council meeting?
It would be on the 9th.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Why would it have to go back to TRC if they're not changing the roads or any of the technical layout of you're just putting less homes on?
If you
I wasn't suggesting that. I was just
Yeah.
trying to go with what,
I mean, if they're
Cameron
not
was
if they're not
saying-
changing the roads, and not changing
Yes,
where
sir.
the fire trucks and trash trucks and all are gonna go, why would it need to go back through technical?
I think, it's kind of one of the things that I just wanted to bring up, and it would be up to y'all's discretion, and maybe upon the approval or conditions that are listed on the back end of next month's meeting, it could also add in something being like if TRC deemed necessary based on substantial review or whatnot. So that way, I mean, if some type of revision has to come up based on stuff that we may have not been able to review it coming here, then we could kind of handle it in that technical review committee realm rather than coming back as an amendment to the conditional rezoning, if that makes
why
sense.
don't you just make sure that the technical review committee gets a copy of it? And if they have an issue, they can call the council.
Yes, ma'am. I can certainly do that too. I'll tell them to take a look at it in the meantime, and whenever I get it from you all, of course. And I will hope that they will take a look at it and review it as much as they can. So I know I'll take a look at it, make sure all my standards are being met, and then we'll kind of go from there.
I appreciate that,
Yes, ma'am.
Cameron. I appreciate you doing that on an expedited thing. I'm sure they're wanting to get all this approved and done so that they can get their things in order and get their financing in order to move forward.
When are you looking to start this?
So we've got it right now as a December 24 start. Where we break ground, we got to get through all the engineering, so.
So do I hear a motion to postpone this rezoning hearing? Well, let me first. Is there anybody else that is here to speak on this matter? Make a motion that we close the public hearing. Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Public hearing's closed. Do I hear a motion to postpone this until the January meeting for both items 1 and 2 for the 53.904 acres off Mayfield Drive?
Second your motion, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Do we need to give them the conditions? 70-foot width?
I think they've heard that, the 70-foot width and the, was there anything else? I mean, it's mainly the density.
Yep,
Reduce
so
the density by.
we'll redesign to 70-foot width. And,
Right.
and then obviously that'll definitely reduce density and we'll calculate, and if we can make that work financially, then we'll be back January 9th with revised plans for your consideration.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we table item number 2 because it is.
No, we
tied to
just
this.
did 1 and 2. You
Oh, okay.
seconded it. Sorry. And, the special use permit, 616 Hollow Street's been, the petitioner's requested for this item to be, tabled. Do you have anything on the back? Okay, there was nothing from the back. We're going to ask, city staff,
Mayor Talley,
well,
would city council entertain a motion on item 3 to table it?
oh, okay, sure.
Madam Mayor, I make motion to table item 3, special use permit for 616 Hollow Street.
Do I hear a
A
second?
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Bob, you got anything? You got anything, Brian? Cameron?
No, ma'am. It's been a pleasure to fill in for Aaron tonight. Just want to say, I look forward to maybe doing it a little bit more in the future. One thing I do want to mention that it's kind of been, I guess, from planning board to you all as well. I know there's been a lot of discussion surrounding the special use permit, kind of process and discussion. And I think on behalf of the planning board, is looking to maybe get something on maybe the January or February item, on the agenda to kind of speak about, I guess, how we're going to discuss that and how we're going to, I guess, that process moving forward. So I just kind of entertain you all to possibly add that as an agenda item that we can discuss in the future, relative future, I guess, so.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we put that on the agenda.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Aaron's at basketball game tonight.
Yes, ma'am. So like I said, I was more than happy to fill in for him. One of those things, I guess, as a father, you can't miss kind of seeing your son out there on a collegiate basketball stadium. So like I said, he told me and I jumped to the opportunity, and I hope I served you all as well as he may have served you too. So like I said, we try and fill in for each other around these parts a little bit, at least we can. So I'm sure he'll have to come to a planning board meeting or two for me in the future. So
Renee? Megan?
No, ma'am.
Bonnie?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up one thing. I wanted to see if I could get council to agree to have the city look into the intersection at Gilbreath and Maple. I know this has been apparently brought up before. I've had several people approach me about this. I had a couple people approach me at the polls about this. And I myself have almost been hit trying to come from Main Street down Gilbreath and turn left onto Maple. The topography of the land there is kind of high. I had sent Aaron some pictures. I didn't know he was going to be at a basketball game tonight, though. The topography is kind of high there, so you can't really see unless you pull up past where you're supposed to be to turn left, and then you got people coming this way trying to turn left. I almost got my nose taken off the other day myself, like I said, and it's just a really dangerous area. There's shrubs that are at one home. I believe it's the second home down on the
Think
left.
If I remember, and I don't know, Megan, do you know about this? I think they had reached out to that property owner, but they
Yes.
will not get rid of those
Well,
shrubs,
you
and
know
I
what?
don't know why.
Even if they did, I was looking at it because of the slope of the yard that's right there on the corner of Gilbreath and Maple. I'm not even sure that even that would be enough, to be honest with you. I mean, I was wondering if maybe we could talk to, or have the city talk to DOT about even a stoplight there. That may be the only thing, because, people do have a tendency to pick up speed coming over that bridge after it turns from Moore Street to Maple.
Mhm.
They have a tendency to pick up quite a bit of speed coming up there. And so by the time they're going around that little curve where the yard slopes up and all the shrubs are, it's real dangerous. And like I said, I know it did come up before. And I felt like I was playing Frogger out there the other day. I don't know if you remember that game, but I kind of stuck my nose out and then I had to back up. Then I stuck my nose out and I had to back up. And I was like, this reminds me of playing Frogger. And it's very dangerous.
Yep.
So anyway, I just wanted to see if I could get council support to just look into this and see what can be done, maybe with possibility of either a stoplight or anything that the city or DOT could suggest. So. I
Those
would
are
like to-
usually deferred to Aaron, if you could maybe give him that message from,
I sent him an email, like I
Council.
said, so he's aware of it.
Mhm.
And I sent him some pictures that he could have shared, but he's not here, so.
Yeah, and it
Uh,
has been explored in the past, so we can pull that data, make sure everything on there is still current and communicate that back to city
I have
council.
the video of the car flying through the air, hitting the house.
Seen that
There
one,
you go.
I mean, that's the highlight reel right there,
for sure.
you know?
But we don't want another incident like that, so. I really don't wanna
sure.
See that happen, so anyway, I wanted to bring that up, see if maybe we could look into that.
Okay, anything else,
No, ma'am, that's it.
Bobby?
Merry Christmas.
Oh, Merry Christmas, yes.
Merry Christmas, Bobby. Ricky, do you have anything?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to get city council's consensus on adding city council to the city's pay plan. I think it would be in keeping with us being as city employees to help with morale for all city employees.
Okay,
I don't have anything. No, ma'am.
Sorry, Mayor, I didn't understand Mr. Hall's.
My recommendation is that city council be put into the upcoming pay plan that the city is getting or looking to adopt.
for them to,
Just
for
tra-
them, I think, to make a recommendation as to what comparable to other cities, what the council should, what their stipend should be. That's what I'm assuming.
That and transparency.
That's what I,
just so
yeah.
everybody knows.
so that
what's
it's
going on.
it's not left up to a governing body to determine what it is. It's basically like an outside person that is, you know, I guess versed in that, and they would make a recommendation to
The league-
her.
Yeah, if I may add, the League of Municipalities publishes a salary survey every year. So their 2023, 2024 data is already available. It's usually not available till January, February, but we do have that data now. And they are grouped by peer group. So we're in the 10,000 to 24,999 population. So we have that data. We can pull it down and see how Graham compares to our peers and add that to the pay plan.
It's more of, I guess, like, that would be more of like backup to say this is what is fair and what is consistent across the state. Do
Is
we
that-
need to have a motion for that or just a consensus?
I think a consensus to add that would be fantastic.
I like it not being in our hands. I prefer it not being something that we're doing. It's something that somebody else is making, I guess, a recommendation on to be consistent. So,
Well, council would ultimately determine that, right?
yeah, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, like, I don't know what other people get paid. I didn't even know. I didn't really know that you got paid originally, I will say that. But I certainly don't know what other people around us or people in our same grouping does. And so I didn't take the time to do that.
Well, I guess my question though, underline it all, so for what purpose would this be?
Well, we have to make a decision about that every year, and it doesn't seem like much goes into doing that. And since we were doing a pay plan study, well, I shouldn't speak for Ricky, but we're doing a pay plan study now, and they either include it or they don't include it. So
But what's the relevance?
So city staff can see that we're willing to, since we are considered city employees,
By
that's
whom?
the state.
state and federal government.
I'm still not following why this would be something of benefit to the citizens generally.
So the city employees.
We're
let's
not
say-
just determining our own,
Right.
like, with nothing. There's somebody that's looking at cities, and this is what the league would recommend for cities of our size, what their stipend would be. It's not really a,
But so what, how does that have any bearing on the city employees? I don't see what the relevance
So
is.
city employees can see that we're willing to put ourselves on the same level as them when it comes to pay. Or siphon, whatever you want to get.
Madam Mayor, I would just raise the question of whether the underlying purpose is to give a pay hike to the city council.
I don't think so.
It's
I
just
don't
for
know how it's
transparency.
gonna come out. I have no
For
idea.
transparency so that everybody knows what we do, we know what they do.
Okay.
I don't think
I'll
anybody,
look.
I don't think
to see
anybody
if
on
that's
the board-
Final result, but that would certainly be my very great concern from what little
You'd
bit.
rather the council just do that research and come up with a price for themselves?
I'd rather the council not give itself a raise anytime.
Okay, well,
And I hear the underlying direction being that that's what's being looked for, is a way / excuse to be able to do that. That would be my concern.
I think I can speak for the board that that's not the case.
Okay. I hope that's correct.
okay, moving on. The yes, but can I first say that, I want people to come out to the trolley, see downtown in Graham at Christmas. It's absolutely beautiful. Very happy to hear in, the last, couple of weeks since the last council meeting that the arsonist, that, set the the 3 fires have been caught. And, I think, we really dodged a bullet that Western Electric wasn't set on fire, which is about 10 to 15 times what our mill was, the size of our mill. So very happy to that law enforcement worked really hard to get those people behind those individuals, that were responsible for that. I asked Megan if for the juveniles that most likely will leave little to no, just the juvenile justice system just doesn't seem to do that much, has been my experience. But is there any way that the cost to the citizens, for those fires, because they were set, maliciously and without regard for people's personal property, whether there's any, I guess, precedent for us to send a bill to these kids' parents, who clearly didn't know where their kids were at, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever. So if you could, is the council okay with Megan investigating that?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. And, so the city council will now consider going into closed session pursuant to the terms of North Carolina General Statutes 143-318-11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged regarding Cone Commercial Real Estate Investments LLC versus City of Graham, Alamance County Superior Court, case number 23 CVS 1909. We need a motion and a second in order to go into closed session.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we go into closed session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And if I could ask my family to come up here. this. I know when I get back to my office tonight, I'm gonna stay up late to make some things for my door at my office.
Uh-oh.
My wheels are turning right now. Megan, maybe you could stay after and I can take a pic if you snap a few shots. Be glad to.
Megan is the queen elf.
Okay, do I hear a motion to come out of, to go back into open session? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And do I have to say anything about what, the closed session? Okay,
I'd like to go on record thanking, all the, residents who came out and voted for myself, Bonnie, and for you, Mayor.
thank you.
And I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Can we ask that the revision that for the open space that Aaron's talking about, if we could have that on the January agenda? Okay, okay. I'm sorry, can we take the vote on the adjournment? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah, we could have smith. Are y'all going anywhere for Christmas?
My daughter wants to go. I mean, I think